easy for them to conquer Spain in no more than 8 years, from the south to the north, from the south to the north in 8 years. But Christians needed almost 8 centuries to get back Spain. So in the 8th century, Muslims conquered Spain from south to north. Then during 8 centuries, Christians get back Spain from the north to the south. That's why if you go more to the south in Spain, you'll feel still stronger the Moorish influence, because they stayed more time in the south of Spain. You know, I was born in the northern of the country, where there is almost nothing of Arabic traditions still now, and because of that, they stay a very short period. In Toledo, Muslims stayed for 3.5 centuries, but cities like Granada in the south of Spain, they stayed 8 centuries. The end of the reconquest of Spain, year 1492. Now we'll cross, but it's better on the place to cross the road. Well, the end of the reconquest of Spain, year 1492. And this city was reconquered by the Christians in the 11th century, 1085. Since then, again, Toledo was the capital. So, as I resume, first the Romans, then the Visigoths, capital for the first time, then Muslims, and again Christians, again the capital. And coming this way, well, this construction here is something modern. This is the palace for congresses, meetings, conferences. There is a theater as well, and some escalators that go down. These are, we call them the new escalators, because we'll use later the old ones from the year 2000. These are from just 6 years ago. Because until the year 2000, it was allowed for us to arrive with the coaches, with our visitors, to the main square. But some days it was a big problem. Of course, we all arrive at the same time. So imagine 20, 30 coaches trying to arrive at the square, stopping, and it takes our time to get off. So the city was collapsed. Now it's forbidden only the city buses, or when we ask permission, like we did yesterday and again tomorrow, for those hotels next to the square. So that's why the escalators were made. Now we have to stop. There are 2 escalators to enter with the clients, with the visitors to the city, the escalators. And from here to the right, down there, you can see the river. We'll see better tomorrow. El Río Tajo, the Tagus River, that comes from the northeast of Spain, comes here to the center, surrounds and protects the old town. Then the river continues on the other side towards Portugal, towards Lisbon. From here, that's the view of the new city. I explain it later from another place. But this is the only side flat. This is the only side without river. This is towards north, because east, south, and west are with cliffs and with water. Nothing, well, not nothing, but the city could not be expanded on the other 3 sides. And our local hero is in front of us. We are arriving now to see a sculpture. Toledo is this hilly city, this up down all the time. It was a very good city for one person to practice. He's, in France, he's very famous. We all have heard about the Tour de France. The Tour de France, and the first Spaniard who won the Tour de France is from Toledo. Federico Martin Bahamontes was his name. And the first Spaniard won the Tour de France, and he was king of the mountains there in France for 5 years. It's said that when he arrived at the mountain in the Tour, he arrived the first. He stopped, he had time to stop, to rest, to eat a sandwich for the other ones to come. And then he joined them and continued. In 1959 was the first time he was, when he won the Tour de France, then for 5 more years, king of the mountain during the Tour de France. And I'm talking on present time. He is still alive. I think he's now about 92 years, something like that, but before he lived behind the square. When we came, yesterday, when we went from this hotel to the square, there's the first square right there, after the hotel, that's where he lived. So he had to come here to practice every day, to come to his house. And now he's living but in the new city, in that other part. His name, Bahamontes, his nickname, the Eagle of Toledo. Even the coat of arms of the city is an eagle with 2 heads, the Austria's eagle, but the Eagle of Toledo is this man, Bahamontes. Well, let's continue, please. Toledo grew, of course, like all the cities, are expanded. So there are remains of 3 city walls. The first one was smaller, the wall built by the Romans. Then there was a second city wall built by the Visigoths, the Christians, and a third city wall built by Muslims. What can be seen from here, down there, before the trees on the park. Later we'll go closer. The city wall built by Muslims, 10th century, but has been restored. But on this street, at the other side of the street, that was part of the second city wall built by the Visigoths. And one of the Romans was much smaller. So that means if we could go back now to before the 8th century, we could be outside of the city. The wall was there. So this was added from here to the other wall by the Muslims between 8th and 11th century. Well, let's continue, please. As we go down, if you look to the right, there is a big building with a black octagonal dome. It used to be a hospital. At the other side to the right, there's with a clock. It was a hospital, Hospital de San Juan, St. John Hospital. It's called Hospital de Tavera, the name of the cardinal who built it, but also known by the locals as Hospital de Afuera, hospital of outside, because it was outside the walls, outside of the old town. Actually, because here in the old part, where there are now 10,000 inhabitants, I told you there were 50,000. There was no place to build hospitals or convents, and they were built outside. In particular, hospital, it was better, the hospitals, as far as possible of the city. It was, that's 16th century, Hospital de Tavera. Behind there was another hospital that was for the lepers, la lepra, and always far away, separated outside. But that was behind that one. Now it's one hotel, and behind there is the bull ring. So, but hospitals outside and some convents as well. Well, we continue here along this wall, leaving the city wall, the second city wall, the remainings of the second city wall on our left-hand side. Today, Saturday, also few people. That's much better than the weekdays. Few traffic, few everything. Also, we are on our low season. The best season for us is the spring, since April till June, and then the autumn, September, October, 2 weeks of November. Winter is very cold and summer is very hot. Center of the country, continental weather. The extremes. In summer we arrive to 40, 42 degrees Celsius, Fahrenheit about 110, July and August. And in the winter, this winter has not been so cold, but in the winter, usually in Christmas, January and February, negative 2 or 3 negative first hours in the morning, about 27 degrees. Well, this year, not that cold. The problem of the weather of this winter is by now we have no rain in Spain. And that's the new of all these last weeks. By the moment in winter, no rain. Yeah, we'll cross here at the other side of the street. So no rain, few rain. We need water for summer. The reservoirs of water Spain at about the average of 35% only. Well, that could be a hard summer. And this man coming here knows all of us, all the guides. He was a fireman, and now he is selling the guidebooks for all the tourists coming to Toledo. Buenos días, Jose. He stays always in front of the square, in front of the cathedral, selling the guidebooks for Japanese, Chinese, American. He speaks I don't know how many languages. At least just the explanation of guidebook of Toledo, €5, whatever. He can say that in many languages. No more, but that's enough. And he's there almost every day. Now there are a few visitors. He's having also just having a walk. He's going now towards the cathedral. Well, and look at this gate on the left-hand side. Will be better seen from the other side. I know. I know you tell me, we are not in Madrid. But if I tell you, this is La Puerta del Sol. In Madrid, the square of Puerta del Sol, we have the same, name here, Puerta del Sol. And the street with the cat, that street there is called Calle Carretas. In Madrid as well, from Puerta del Sol, one street the same name, Calle Carretas. Carretas were all those chariots to carry animals or whatever. So, gate on the street of the chariots behind as well. But you will see it from here. That's you take the photo from here. Arantxa, me esperáis por aquí.
Vale.
Que vamos a ir a la mezquita, que no ha sido muy complicado. Well, the gate of this Puerta del Sol, 1300s, 14th century. And that's something we talk about several times today, the Mudéjar style. Mudéjar. Mudéjar style is the Moorish influence. For so many centuries of different cultures living together, the Moorish influence will be seen in churches, in the cathedral, in the synagogue as well, and in construction like on this gate, those horseshoe arches, lobulated arches on this beautiful gate from the 14th century that was added to the second city wall at this one here. And the first place we're going to enter is up there. I have to use those stairs. Maricar will stay there waiting for us here. So we go through those stairs to the former, well, the old mosque, and a small one, a very beautiful one of the most beautiful places in the city. And as we go to the mosque, before the stairs here on the left, here in front, take care here, 1, 2, 3, 4 stairs. As I was telling you before about those remains of the Romans that from time to time appear in Toledo, look where I am. That left, that side, behind the ivies, there is a kind of tunnel. That was the exit of the Roman sewers. That means if those waters so you would like to, let's discover what's inside, but forbidden. That's all closed. Well, and the mosque is there behind. You go slowly on these stairs.
So they built the mosque within the Roman walls?
No. These were the walls of the Visigoths, the Christians. And it was built after the conquest. Now, because there was, well, you see now, where there is the mosque, there was before a church, then the mosque, that became later again a church.
Mosque?
Church. And here in front is the mosque, left, in front of you, on the left. It has been restored the last time, let's say about 15 years ago, was restored the ceiling, the walls, the floor inside. And after the restoration, they wanted to make a kind of gallery, a chamber underground around the mosque to avoid the humidity again to damage the restored building. When they were digging around the mosque to make that gallery empty, just with air, they found some of those stones. They were digging more till here behind of you, Roman street. Come here. Roman pavement. Yes, so some of the stones have been replaced, but nobody knew. Nobody knew there was the road here, the pavement of the Via Romana, until 15 years ago when by accident they found this street. So the street continues below the mosque. Well, now we enter. Please come with me. Buenos días, ¿qué tal? Pues mira, por lo menos, ¿verdad? Mira, me mandó Anastasio, lo he impreso, no sé si hace falta imprimirlo o no, pero bueno.
Imprimirlo por si ahora, mira, solo con este ya voy a sacar todas las cosas.
¿Son iguales todos? No.
No que sean iguales.
Ah, bueno,
todos
vale.
no son iguales.
Vale, bueno, pero por si acaso...
Creo que voy a sacar todos por uno.
Vale. Now here, I'll give you a bracelet that you have to.
Las 22. Hay un código diferente por si tú los cogieras y los dieras,
Vale.
vinieran ellos por separado. Pero si yo cojo una, ya me aparecen todos.
Arreglar. So, we'll give you now the bracelet that will be for this and for 2 more places. No, the other one this morning and 2 in the afternoon to be used. So yes, you have to put it on the. On your hand.
Inside or outside? Are we going to be now inside?
Inside.
Y este ya lo tienes abonado, ¿no?
Sí, sí, me lo han dado gratuidad.
Como lo veo así. Entonces son 22 pulseras.
So much?
A ver. Nada.
Aluska
Ya
stay
está.
behind.
Yes, there will be some of them, yeah, for Aluska and for Maricar and okay, thank you. Vale. So, muchas gracias. Come with me. Then at the entrance of the museum, I tell you, yes, to show it. No, we're coming here first, inside of the mosque. Yes. First, here inside. We go later that way to take the photos.
Andreas and then.
Okay, please, you come here.
Esta es una mezquita y ahora es una iglesia.
Ahora solo museo, pero fue mezquita y luego iglesia, sí. Well, this building was first a mosque and then became a church. There were there like 2 sections. This lower part where we are now, this square section, was the first part of the building as a mosque. Then after the Reconquest, the apsis, that side was added when it became a church. And in many buildings of the city, still we have the name given by the Christians. As museum, this building is called the Mosque of the Christ of the Light. And the synagogue will visit in the afternoon the synagogue of Saint Mary the White. But that's why. So there is the name of the building when it was a church. But as a mosque, I told you, as you can see, it's quite small. Only this section, 3 galleries on its direction. But the columns and these 2 capitals, this one and that one, Visigothic materials. So there was a church before the mosque. And the Muslims reused some of those materials, like these 2, that means 7th century probably. So there was a church before that was demolished. Some materials were reused to make the mosque, and then was amplified after the year 1085 when it became a church. When it was a mosque, that wall, that one behind of me, and the one there were completely opened. Only that wall was closed. That was the mihrab, the qibla. The wall for the Quran was right there. That means that should be towards Mecca. If you get a compass, that's south. Mecca is east. As churches, yes, but because there are different possibilities. One of my professors on art history said maybe because the Omis who came from Damascus, Mecca is south. Maybe they made like a kind of a reproduction of their mosques built there. Or maybe because that's somehow the way to go to Mecca. To make the pilgrimage to Mecca from Spain, we cannot go to the east because of the Mediterranean Sea. The way to travel to Mecca is actually towards south. And then Gibraltar, and then you cross the sea and then continue towards Mecca. Just theories, of course, just different possibilities. But that's not the only one. The main mosque in Cordoba is also built towards the south. Well, because the east is in that other direction. So, and when this was added in the 11th century, that part, that's when this was called Church of the Christ of the Light. According to the legend, there was a church before the mosque. Christians coming to this church came here to pray to the Christ they had on the small church they had here before, but they wanted to protect the Christ. They thought when Muslims arrive, they will destroy many things. They will maybe make something they will destroy this image of Christ. So they opened a kind of chapel in one hole in one wall of the first church. They put the Christ with one candle, olive candle, with a light on it. Then they closed the wall. Then Muslims came. They just saw a building that was somehow adapted into a church. They know the Christ was there. And 2 centuries later, when in 1085, the King Alphonse VI reconquered the city, the king went from the walls towards the cathedral, and the horse of the king stopped in front of the mosque. And the horse stayed there. The Christian horse, the horse of the Christian king stopped in front of the mosque. What happened? Then they entered. That's when they discover one of the walls, the Christ, after 2 centuries, still with the light of the candle on it. That's why, like a miracle, that's why the king, okay, let's convert this mosque into a church. Let's call it the Church of the Christ of the Light. That's why the legend comes from that story. And that side was added. Come at this other part, please. Here. Enter, you can enter. This was added by the Christians in the 11th century. The apsis, again the Mudéjar style, the Moorish influence on those arches, and very important from the 11th century, still few churches have got frescoes, paintings like up there, there's the Pantocrator, Christ as a judge in the center, and at the sides, there were two on each side, the evangelist, here the symbols of the evangelist. To the right, the one can be seen much better, the eagle of St. John. Then below, there was the bull of St. Lucas, I forget it, because the lion of St. Mark was down there on the left, and the last one was a small angel of St. Matthew. So the evangelists were also represented. But of all these decorations, also very interesting, look at these writings. There, all around. There are more. That's the all Arabic from those times. Arabic, but this part was not the mosque. this was the church. So Christians came here to pray. This building, this part was built by the Christians as a church. After the Reconquest, Christians still, of course, understood Arabic. It was but after in Toledo 3.5 centuries of the Arabic official language. That's what people understood. So they cannot say, no, tomorrow you're forbidden talking Arabic. Now you talk, you'll understand, you'll learn something else. No, that's still churches with Arabic writings. It was the language used still. It took the time for the Latin to win positions here in Castile.
Can we understand what is written there?
No. Those are all writings. Also, there are some outside, and the outside can be understood, but here is more complicated. Well, and come to see the views to the right, to take the photos.
Facing Christ on the left-hand side on the wall, there was the cross. Is the one of the hospitals of St. John? Yes, the cross which is like that.
Where?
Yes, as frescoes on the wall in a circle. On the left, as you face the Jesus Christ on the wall on the left in a circle. There was the cross which is like that. No. Yeah,
with the four
which is the symbol of the king as well. Is the one of the hospitals of St. John, isn't it?
Yes.
Maybe that's the reason they named the monastery St. John, dedicated to St. John. What do you think? Huh?
No, it has nothing to do.
Okay.
That's 16th century.
Sure,
and that nights of orders of St. John,
Yes,
Malta and so on,
yes.
Jerusalem are before that time, because many churches were somehow protected or given to those nights, like this one was before, but that was during the Reconquest.
Yes, sure.
That was after the Reconquest.
Yes, I
Anyway.
understand. It's just
But there are many churches with
in
those
memory.
with those symbols inside.
Okay. Thank you.
So, if we go back now to the time when Muslims conquered the city, we could be now in the position of the Visigoths defending, protecting the city. That was the city wall. So they arrived down here. There was the line of battle in Toledo on those times. There was nothing here, nothing down there when Muslims arrived to the city. It was all of that was made by them when they took Toledo. So the city walls we'll see closer later on. And the gate, the building right there with those two towers, white and green color, is the main entrance of Toledo, Gate of Bisagra. That's 16th century. That word bisagra comes from the Latin via sacra, the holy way, the exit towards cemeteries and temples, or from the Arabic bab sagra. Bab means gate in Arabic. And the name of that space, that part between Toledo and Madrid still now is called sagra. That could have something to do with the red color. There is a lot of red color over there, many olive trees, and that's, well, that part. And the hospital of St. John the Straight as well. Well, we take the pictures. We'll go again this way. We go down to the same place where Maricar and Luzca are waiting for us. We continue down to the city walls, and then we get the escalators to re-enter into the old town. Also from here you can see the outside of the mosque. Actually of this part, this left half, was the apsis added by the Christians. The mosque is Arabic style, but the apsis that the Moorish influence. And almost everywhere in Toledo you'll see the same materials of construction, brick and stone. Both are local materials, the brick and the stone. It depends on the time, the century, they use more stone or more brick. Also depends on the money. Stone is more expensive. It takes more time just to cut the stones and to move the stones. So when they have more money, they use more stones. When they have less money, they use more brick. Vamos.
Para vender todo lo que está puesto ahí fuera, la prenda, como que no tiene nada, ¿no? ¿Se le ha gustado algo con lo que está puesto ahí?
Muchas gracias. Igualmente.
Así va la cosa, yo creo que va mejor, ¿no? Un poquito, pero yo creo que el lunes debe ser Semana Santa.
Ya está. El mes que viene ya sí.
Sí,
Ya.
Yo ya vamos a abrir el
Me alegro. ¿Os dijeron que sí todo marzo ya? ¿Todos los días?
Yo he oído por ahí el rumor y cuando el agua del río suena...
Vale, hasta luego, gracias. Well, they are like all of us talking about the same thing, about more or less visitors. He told us, well, so you're happy watching you again with more clients, with more people coming. The most of the museums of the city have been, some of them have been completely closed until last summer, and then other museums like these ones still until February, in some days on the week are not opened. You still have to pay all the workers, but not so much business for all of them. So some of them come only a few hours, but for some days, no visitors at all. This one is closed, for instance, on Tuesdays and Wednesdays. Well, vamos. Be careful with the stairs. Llama, que me está llamando Alex de Catedral, a ver si pasa alguna cosa. Que iré a eso de las 4 y... A las 4 quiero llegar. Double-deck bus makes the same tour we'll do tomorrow morning. And in all the stores of the city, you see weapons, swords, knives, armors. This was the land of the knights. And the weapons here, so the typical things of the city are three. One is one sweet, the marzipan. You taste it in the bags. You had one box of marzipan. also the weapons, because here were made some of the best weapons on those times, because to temper the steel here they used olive oil. La Mancha is a land of the olive trees, so the steel was put in the fire when it was red hot. They hammered to give the length and the shape to the blade. Then here, those weapons were tempered with water from the river and then with olive oil. Don't make it like that, the steel becomes more flexible. That's why it's so important. Church. What?
What is part separate?
This is a church, but is asking about why that because that door used almost every day for the people, so you don't open the whole door, but on a few occasions. So usually, it's a church. That would be the whole door open. I mean, the big door. It would be too cold inside as well, just to keep a little bit the temperature. But we'll see later. We'll pass, I guess, by some of the entrances also of the big houses of the old town, old houses. Also the big door and the small one. In the houses, they open the big door when they enter with the animals, with the horses inside. When they keep walking, they open just the small one. This church here is to the left, the church of Santiago, St. James. Santiago is St. James. The Apostle St. James. Suppose that his body is in Santiago de Compostela in the northwest of the country. That's the peregrinates to Santiago de Compostela to see the tomb of the Apostle. And this church received that name as well. It's very easy in Spain finding churches of St. James once he is our patron.
Te va a mandar ahora por email una cosa que tiene que estar reenviársela firmada, ¿vale? Es un permiso para... Pero ahora te la copias.
Vale.
Las slides, si hay conflicto.
Vale.
Como que las imágenes solo las utilizan para otros bits que no sea esta visita.
Vale. So this church on the left, 12th century, St. James, and we'll see from here one of the Moorish influence, the mudéjar style, and brick used for construction and for decoration. This way. Es que ahí no hay bajada. Well, now the city walls. These were the city walls. The third one, the one built in the 10th century. Now this side, and this is the wall. That means we are outside of the old town. Meters will enter again. And behind the wall, the statue that can be seen is the King Alphonse VI. Now, as we came out through the walls, it was to the right or now behind of you. Tomorrow we'll pass by the pass in front of it as well. That's one of the main gates of Toledo, 16th century. But coming this way to show you another gate, smaller but important also for the history of Toledo, that is called Gate of the Reconquest. In a few moments we'll see it. The small gate we'll see in a few moments has got three names. Gate of the Reconquest, Gate of the King Alphonse VI, and Old Gate of Bisagra. Because I told before, Gate of Bisagra behind of us is really the new Gate of Bisagra with the same name. But the first, the original Gate of Bisagra is the one we'll see now. It was also the entrance for the Christians, for the King Alphonse VI, when he reconquered the city to the Muslims. That's the gate you'll see now on your left-hand side. As you can hear a few more steps on the left. That's the Gate of the Reconquest. The entrance of Christians in the year 1085 was through that gate. And next to it, still we have several hotels and restaurants closed due to the situation. Like behind that wall, behind that door, it was a palace from the 18th century that nowadays is used as a hotel, small one, but quite nice, with a famous restaurant as well called El Cardenal, the Cardinal. It was a palace built by one of the cardinals of Toledo in the 18th century. It's a nice place. When that's open, of course, behind the door there is a garden, the city walls. It's a nice place, especially for the celebrations of weddings in that place. And the escalators are there behind. So this is one of the two stops we have for our visitors. They may come here to this place, like this coat here, and then we start the visit. Coming here, going up, but using the escalators from the year 2000. So the old escalators, year 2000. Before those were only the escalators. When the new ones were made, then these ones became old escalators. That will be much easier. And after that, after the escalators, in about, from up there, 10 minutes, we'll arrive to a special place that I'll tell you more once we'll be there. Also there, we have the chance for the washrooms. In case you need, we wait a little bit, and the place will go from the escalators in about 10 minutes. Okay, time for, have the chance for the washrooms there.
Y solo se me ha cortado cuando solo se me ha cortado cuando ya pasé Barrio Rey, la plaza. Así que vale. Lo único malo es eso, es lo de los cascos.
And the escalators are very useful, not only for us as tourist guides or for the visitors as visitors, also for the locals. There are many people living in the new city and every day come to work to the old town, especially those ones going to the offices. And then they leave their cars outside because in the old town it's almost impossible. Only for the most are only for the residents, people living there inside. Then the workers also At 8 in the morning, escalators to the office, then at 3, this way back home.
Tienes una llave si quieres.
Bueno, allí ahora, al llegar. The people of Toledo finally recognized this was something good. Because you imagine, when we listen the news, that here there is the city wall, they wanted to make escalators, nobody was happy, nobody agreed. What the hell are they going to do here? Escalators in the old town, but well, finally it was good. And the visual impact is not too strong. As we go now higher, you see there's like a large window only. From far away can be seen just a small line, because all that was again covered with plants, trees, and whatever. Well, and that's well made. That's 6 sections, 6 escalators to go to the top. This is the first one, and then 5 more. Tell me?
For those who want to do exercise.
Yes, if you want to make exercise, you can do it as well. If you're not tired enough, if you're cold, you can warm up. Also coming this way, you'll see the new city to the right. This is the northern part of Toledo, where the most of the people are living on. Of the 80,000 I was telling you, only 10,000 live in the old part. That means about 70,000 outside. Actually, people, many friends of mine who live in the new city, never enter here, never come to the old town. They say, why? I have no place for my car, difficult to ride. Only have to go to the city hall, for instance, then they enter. Or the way people have their lives in the new city.
Bravo.
It's cold, you say. I'm cold.
Also from here, if you look to the right, those are those houses, those buildings. But looking a little bit to the left, there's a surface of first a big parking, and then a surface, green color, still with nothing built on it. That's because there, still, nowadays, they're finding remains from the 4th, 5th, 6th century, from the last period of the Romans and of the Visigoths. It was thought that always history took place in the old town, but no. There have appeared over there large mosaics, remains of 2 basilicas of that period, but the most of them still is on the ground. So they went to make a lot of work there, investing, using a lot of money to make a, let's say, a recreation of an archaeological site of the time of the Visigoths, but that was for the year 2008 or 9, when we had the economical crisis. Then the money was used for something else, not to make digging. That could be very important, but well, nothing was made. Cuidado aquí. And then at the exit of the escalators, be careful with this wire. This is just too close. By night are closed for security. Yes, there is like kind of big door over there. It comes here to close the gates.
Until 24. Until 24, until midnight, it's closed.
It depends on the day and on the season, but between more or less midnight, let me see, I don't know, Monday to Thursday until 11, and then till 2. And Sundays until 11 as well. Yes. Muy buenas.
Turismos en Washington. La oficina de
Ahí
turismo.
sí, una de ellas, sí.
¿Y los aseos por dónde están?
Ahora, cuando lleguemos al sitio donde vamos a llegar, ahora sí. Washrooms on the place where we'll enter now are the washrooms. Yes, yes. This street, and then one left, and then we'll arrive. Okay, please follow me. This way. Careful, careful. On this street. This is, let's say, important access to the old town for the traffic. So maybe cars will, if they can, they will come from behind of us. More cars coming, yes. And today is Saturday, so on the weekdays, coming this way, it's a little bit more complicated. Oh well, that's life. People here have to live as well in the city. They come to their houses to make any business. The church, if you look all straight, at the end of the street, car coming, careful. That's another church from the 12th century, Santa Leocadia. It's a more complicated name, the church up there, but we'll turn left. We're turning left from here. Ooh, with these cobblestones, it's more dangerous in a rainy day. It's so slippery, up, down, and with those stones. In a really cold winter, when we are in the morning at 3 or 4 minus zero, below zero, there's a layer of ice. Everything is frozen also the streets. Then we have to.
May I ask something?
Yes?
May I tell something about the balcony? Is that Mudéjar style also? Or you don't?
The most of them are from after that time.
From after that. It's not Mudéjar.
No, I know there are some places where you have.
A little bit.
Yes, but that's especially. I mean, the balcony is closed like these ones, or there are some of them in other parts of the city.
Look at these ones.